Google Chrome has recently announced this project called WebMCP, which is available now for early preview in their browser. And this is a really interesting development in the world of AI and agents and software that is browsing web for you because of multiple reasons, and let's figure out what those are. Now see, typically what happens is when you have an AI agent over here which wants to browse the web and do certain things for you, there are basically two ways where this AI system can work. The first one is that if you give this browser or give this agent a browser window, and this AI system uses vision, right? So what it does is it takes a screenshot, it figures out what it has to click, press whatever button, something is hidden, some functionality is hidden somewhere under the menus or something, and it'll use this vision model and it'll use it like us humans, right? Of course, there are drawbacks of this, which is first of all, it's obviously slow. Second is it costs more because vision models are more expensive than regular text models. And third, it is also inaccurate, because if there is something which is complex, which requires, maybe like a couple of clicks here and there, which is like a sliding menu, which only activates on hover. So things like that, this model would get wrong because it's operating in a way where it'll just take the cursor to a specific button, do some action, and then, figure out again what it needs to do. The second way that you can make this AI agent perform properly on your website is if you have your own custom MCP over here, right? Now the drawback over here is that realistically, no one will install it, right? So what would not happen is nobody will go ahead and install this custom MCP server that you have created inside your own AI agent because it's manual, it takes time, and there's only limited amount of space or information that you can have inside your AI agent, right? Now this is where proposal for WebMCP gets really interesting because see, first of all, WebMCP is built for browsers or browser-based applications, right? It's not like a general thing. It's actually available inside JavaScript, which you can use inside your website. That's one. And the second thing is that you don't need to have a custom MCP system registered ahead of time inside this AI agent. Your AI system can discover this on the fly as it's browsing the website. So basically what this means is that you're giving your AI agent on a website certain tools which the agent can call directly. In a way, what this means is imagine that we are on example.com, right? And imagine if this is a complex website. What this basically means is that you're exposing a bunch of functions like, login, let's say, and function. I'm just giving you an example, register. So you've exposed a bunch of functions and your AI agent automatically knows that it can call these functions and it will perform a certain action on the website. Just that instead of doing this hard-coded or specific functions to specific websites, WebMCP is just like MCP. It's a standard that any website can do and follow this. And your AI agent, whatever this is, this agent could be, something within browser. Like, we are seeing now AI-powered browsers as well coming up, which ship with a lot of interesting things like a sidebar, which you can use for talking with the AI. So this agent could be within browser. This could be something like your cursor. This could be something like, desktop application of Claude, desktop, or any other application, any other agent system that is working. This is an example of an AI agent. This can go ahead and start browsing the website. It'll discover the website is using WebMCP, and then instead of it taking a screenshot or doing some things which is slow, it can just use the tools that the website itself has given. Now let me show you how this works. Now in order to make this work, you have to do a couple of things. First of all, you can see that I'm on Chrome beta version. This is not a regular Chrome. So you have to download Chrome beta, and you can do that just by saying Chrome beta download on Google. And if you scroll down over here on second link, you will see this. So you have to download this browser. Once you download, just go to Chrome flags and search for WebMCP. If you search for this would be in default mode, which is disabled. Just enable this for now. Now remember that this spec is not final. This is not finally available inside browsers. It's still available in early preview. So you can expect some changes in the API, but not really. Most of it would be similar. Once you enable this and once you restart the browser, you will be able to see this application. I have the link for this application below if you want to try it out. It's hosted on GitHub, so you can download it and you can try it out on your own. But this application that I'm showing you has two modes, simple WebMCP and WebMCP with a ScaleKit auth, which I'll get to in a second. Let's take a look at simple WebMCP first. So you see, this is like a basic to-do app, right? But what we have done over here is that we have exposed 4 tools over here as MCP tools to any AI agent that's browsing this website, right? Now this AI tool or this AI agent, this can be Claude, this can be my cursor. For example, if I have like an in-browser inside cursor, this can be VS Code, this can be any system that is using any sort of AI agent, right? In this case, what I'm using is this extension called Model Context Tool Inspector. Again, the link for this you will find in the description. But what this inspector is basically, it's a tool that will use this Chrome sidebar API to mount on the sidebar. It'll go inside the current page it is on and it'll find the tools which are exposed as WebMCPs, right? So you can see that we can already see even though like I have mentioned it over here, but we can also see like these tools: delete to do, list to do, add to do, and toggle to do. And you can see their input schemas as well, the actual schema that the AI has to use. Now, this extension that I have links with Gemini, and it automatically is able to create sort of like an agent experience. But remember that this is the exact same thing that will happen if you're using Claude Code or Claude Desktop, anything that is like an agentic thing. So let me add a prompt here. Please add I have to buy eggs to my list, right? And I'll send this. And once I do, you will see that the AI tool calls responds with this add to do with the title I have to buy eggs, right? And it says that I have added eggs to your list. And if you see over here in the UI, you can see that a to-do list has already been created. Now, of course, this is like a dummy agent. You would, as a user, be using something more expressive like Claude Desktop or any other agent that you are using. But the idea is same. Now, imagine a scenario where you are on an e-commerce website, or you are, just talking to your agent that, hey, can you add maybe, a specific XYZ item on Amazon and place the order for my home address, and it just goes ahead. And it has two ways to do it now. First is, of course, it just keeps on taking screenshots and figuring out its way. And second is that Amazon itself exposes a bunch of WebMCPs, which your agent is able to use, and it's able to place the order for you. And this AI agent can call any tool right here, discovering on whatever you have specified. You can add and remove tools, and you can do this discovery phase within the agent itself. Now, if you look at the code itself is very simple, right? You just have to create this tools array, which I'll talk about, and you have to call this register WebMCP tools function over here, like we are calling at the root. And what you have to do is register these tools like this. There would be a navigator.model context available. This would only be available if you're running Chrome beta right now. So if I go back, if I open inspector, and if we check the console over here, you will see that this navigator.model context has a bunch of more things over here. Provide context is what we are using. Register tool can be used to register individual tools. And similarly, you will also have unregistered tool over here, right? So we are doing this exact same thing over here where we are registering these tools. And you see that we are specifying all the tools over here. Now you see over here, what we are doing is for every tool, we have a description, we have an input schema, and we have an executor function for this. Like what should happen when the AI actually calls this tool in the first place. And then we are making an API call based on this, which is like a custom API feature, right? We also have an authentication here, which we'll talk about now. So this over here is a simple way of building a WebMCP simple demo, but most applications would not be like this. Most applications would have some sort of authentication in place, right? You can't just have a basic application with MCPs unless it's just fun, right? Otherwise, if you're creating like an e-commerce app or something of your own, you need authentication in place for your users to access your platform securely, for your MCP clients to access your servers securely as well. This is where our second demo comes into place, which is the ScaleKit OAuth demo, which uses this WebMCP server alongside proper OAuth authentication. Let me show you how this works. So I'm going to log out and I'm going to log in with ScaleKit, but let me also change my profile to an incognito profile here, and let me click this button. So when I click on this button, it'll take me to ScaleKit's OAuth page. And what's happening over here is what you would ideally do if you're building an application which is AI ready. You'll be using the auth stack from ScaleKit for your AI application, and one part of this auth stack includes MCP auth, which is what we are looking at. So see, MCP servers needs to be secured somehow, right? You don't want anyone to be just generally calling your MCP server and taking any action. That is why OAuth 2.1 can be used to secure this, and ScaleKit makes it extremely easy for you to implement these authentications. So let me show you what happens when I enter my email address here and log in. So I'm going to get an OTP, which I will enter here now, and I'm going to continue. And as I continue, you will see that I would be redirected back to my application and I am authenticated now. If you want the source code of this, all of that is in the description, so you can check that out. Now again, we are having the same thing over here, but this time we are working with an authentication app. If you don't authenticate, then you will not be able to add or list these to-dos in the first place, right? And this also makes it possible for this to be a multi-tenant app, right? Otherwise, how would you have multiple users using the same application? So now we can do the same thing. So I'm going to click on this icon again, refresh the page once, and it automatically discovers the tools again, right? So I can write the same things again. So it automatically gave it to me. Add scheduled dentist appointment to my to-do, and then list all of them. So I send this, I will wait for the AI to add the to-do list, and you can see like it added it and it gave me back the list as well. So I can ask it to modify and do a bunch of more things over here, but you get the idea, right? Now, if we look into the code side of the server itself a bit, you would be able to see that ScaleKit is the one which is handling all of authentication. So we first discover all the OAuth endpoints, which comes from my environment variable URLs over here. So when you're setting up ScaleKit, you will basically need these 3-4 things. First is your environment URL, which ScaleKit will give you when you sign up. Then the client ID, client secret, and your resource ID. So you construct this, you discover your OAuth endpoints, and once you log in, once the ScaleKit returns you the user from the authentication process over here inside this callback part, you just let ScaleKit handle the authentication part of OAuth, including tokens, including refreshing it, including scoping of the token, and you just focus on your application part. Now, one valid question that you might have is that, hey Mehul, why do we need to use ScaleKit OAuth specifically in the first place? Why can't I just have, since we are anyway making a fetch call to the backend, right? Why can't I just use my existing auth system that I already have, which could be like a custom auth or something? Now, the reason for that you don't want to do that is extremely simple, and it goes back to the same thing, that this AI agent can be versatile. It can be within browser, it can be Cursor, it can be Cloud Desktop, it can be anything else which comes out in future, right? And if you do a custom auth, if you implement a custom system, you are right that you can patch this execute function over here, and you can patch this API fetch over here. But if your authentication on your custom MCP supports OAuth 2, which is the standard, then any AI agent system, not just the browser, any AI agent system outside the browser can also access it. For example, when you go to ScaleKit and when you log in into your account, and inside this MCP servers, when you create this application, which I did, you will see a lot of these things like dynamic client registration, client ID metadata, and the ability of different clients to be able to connect to your OAuth server. So this is web right now, but this could be Cloud Desktop, or this could be any other client, right? So all of this is just operational overhead which you can delegate to ScaleKit. And not only this, you can have basic authentication for your users as well, like magic links and OTPs. So it is like an all-in-one solution for you to build your AI authentication system in the product, in the company that you're working with. And this fits beautifully with MCP servers and WebMCP as well. So do check out ScaleKit. The link is in the description. They have a very generous free tier as well, which you can look for, and the pricing grows with you as you scale. So again, all of this code that you're seeing over here, if you want to use this and if you want to use this application, you would be able to find it inside the description. But yeah, this is pretty cool. This is a very cool proposal and something that would help agents browse the web more autonomously, fully client-sided. And in case if authentication is not required for some simple actions, this also reduces the burden on AI agents to take screenshots and then figure it out. For example, you can see that I don't have to use, for example, ScaleKit's authentication if I'm just browsing along the website. I want to use that the moment I do a checkout, let's say, or if the moment I do something sensitive that requires my own system. So you can keep this authentication on and off on different tools as well as you're developing this app. But overall, this is a nice proposal. This is still early. It's not available right now for general public. It would be available soon. And funnily enough, this is also a system that has a declarative API that can be used with HTML forms directly. I don't know if you would want to do this, but more importantly, it supports JavaScript-based execution, which is most likely every use case is going to be. I don't know why they have done this HTML API also, but I think JavaScript API would have been sufficient. This is probably done for AI agents and systems which will not execute JavaScript code for performance, security reason, whatever. So yeah, that's pretty much it for this video. If you want to make your website, your product AI agent ready, this is the way to go about. This is the future, guys. That's all for this one. Hopefully you liked it. If you did, make sure you leave a like and subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in the next one very soon. If you're still watching, make sure you leave a comment, "I watched till the end" below to tell me that you were still here, and let me know what do you think about the video.